how did USC do this again? Again? Really? I mean, I know it wasn't a big fourth quarter lead. It was still a fourth quarter lead. Here's the concerning thing for USC. They have lost these fourth quarter leads because the offense couldn't perform in a crucial situation. They've lost fourth quarter leads because the defense couldn't perform in crucial situations. That's highly concerning. It was just one side of the ball, but now it's both sides of the ball in these key situations. They're just not ready. They're just not ready to be a winning football team. They're capable, but they are not prepared fully on game day to go out and win when it matters most, and that's in the fourth quarter. So here's the interesting dichotomy here for USC. I was high on the Trojans coming into this year because I felt, well, they've made the defensive staff adjustments and they've got some solid personnel. They should be better on that side of the ball. Well, that was the first assumption I made. That one, by the way, absolutely correct. USC's defense this year, much better than last year. Much better than last year. I'd be remiss, by the way, if I didn't shout out another outright winner this week of total surprise. UCLA beats Nebraska on the road. Deshaun Foster is figuring things out. They're figuring things out. Nebraska, outright loser. That's tough. Nebraska. Oh, man, Nebraska. Almost. So close. So very close, much like USC. But USC so far this season has been better defensively. So that was one assumption, and that assumption's correct. So if you told me that before the year, I would have thought, yeah, so USC is, at least an 8 or 9 win team, maybe even a 10-win team. Here is the problem. Their offense is not as good. 21 points on the road against a Washington team that is in a complete reset of a year. Good defensive staff, but you have Lincoln Riley in year 3. That system's supposed to be far more established than what Washington has on their side. That system's supposed to be a fine-tuned machine. It has shown glimpses this year, but it hasn't been consistent, hasn't been steady. And I don't know that Miller Moss is the problem primarily, but he is also not the immediate solution for this USC offense. And that reflects poorly on the head coach, and it should. It really, really should. So they just continue to find ways to lose. They have lost 27-24, 24-17, 33-30, 29-28, and now 26-21. Speaking of one-possession losses, oh, look, USC plays Nebraska next week. Do you realize how hilarious of a game that is from an outside college football standpoint? USC and Nebraska are putting on a clinic, should have their own hugely popular YouTube channel on how to lose one-possession football games. Nebraska did it again at home. Those poor fans are just sitting there and taking it over and over and over again. And Matt Rule gave a great speech last week. Hooray! Everything looks great. You lost to UCLA. I don't care if UCLA's been playing better. It's not a football team. Nebraska is not a great football team, but they should at least be capable of being good. They lost close at Ohio State last week, and then they lose to UCLA. So they lost 31-24 to Illinois, 14-7 against Rutgers. They actually got a win that time, but they lose the last 2 games by 1 possession. Again, they go on the road next week. They go on the road next week. Dylan Raiola's status is up in the air. That's not a great thing. That's not a great thing for Nebraska. So those a couple of the biggest losers of the week. And speaking of that, Clemson, what are you doing? I mean, Clemson was back. Clemson was Pitt, by the way, definitely an outright loser. Speaking of the ACC, because they got housed. They got blown out. They got exposed. The defense wasn't able to pass the snuff test. I believed in them. I believe so did the College Game Day crew in some respects, and it wasn't good. Wasn't good. SMU is just a better football team. Turns out Rhett Lashley can coach. Made the quarterback change earlier this year, and they are all the better for it. But I tell you what, Clemson, you're going to need help now. You're going to need significant help because, yeah, you have Pitt. That game doesn't matter anymore for a direct berth to the ACC championship game. And by the way, don't forget, this is Clemson's first ACC loss. It's not their first overall loss. Georgia clocked them back in week 1, 34-3. Now you lose by 12 at home to Louisville? The Cardinals just walked onto your home field and shut you down? You still have to play South Carolina, who we know is a good football team. They have to go at Virginia Tech. There's another letdown team. The ACC is just full of a bunch of letdown teams all over the place. Florida State. Oh, my gosh. I've never seen a preseason top 10 team go 1-11, but they're going to do it. And that lone win is against Cal and Justin Wilcox. That is all too classic. Just across the board. Last time there was a 1-11 team in Cal's conference, they were the only win. That's just how generous they are in Berkeley, truly. But Clemson still has the Citadel on the schedule. Don't ask me to explain that one. The ACC, SEC cupcakes need to go away. But they've got at Virginia Tech, at Pitt before they host the Citadel in South Carolina. Let me ask you this. Does 10-2 Clemson, with a 34-3 loss against Georgia on the road, neutral site, whatever, it was a road game, and a 12-point home loss to unranked Louisville, is that getting into the playoff? I don't see how it can. I don't see how it can. That is an outright lose week. That is down in the dumps for Clemson fans this week. That is hanging your head. Oh, we were back. We were back. We were there. We were the Clemson of old. Nope, you're still a modified version of this new Clemson, which is better than 2 years ago Clemson. It's just not what it used to be. So you can relive the glory days as often as you'd like. They weren't even that long ago. So you probably have a decent chance to enjoy them. But is Clemson back to being what it once was? Yeah, it's closer, let's say. It's closer, but it's not all the way there. Louisville's a solid team. But Clemson at home off a bye, losing the game by 2 possessions, completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. That is a bad loss for the Tigers. Bad loss. Bad dog. Or Tiger in this particular instance. I did want to touch just very briefly on Ole Miss, who went into Fayetteville and trounced Arkansas. Ole Miss, with their remaining schedule, they host Georgia this week. They'll be playing for their playoff lives. I think. I think. I don't know. I just think. Big day on Tuesday. Big day on Tuesday. First ever 12-team playoff rankings. It is consequential, will have ramifications that go beyond just one particular day. It'll set the standard for how the committee will view things like a 2 or 3 loss SEC team compared to 1 loss ACC or Big 12 or 3 loss versus, all of those fun things that we don't know just yet. Just wait and see. Wait and see what the committee does with Ole Miss. Where do they put Ole Miss going into the game against Georgia? Because if Ole Miss were to win, they're at home, by the way, the Rebels are, in Oxford, then both teams would have 2 losses. And then if Georgia wins the rest of their games, which they're capable of doing, those teams both getting in at 10-2 probably pushes somebody out. Clemson, though, falling out of fit. Curious to see what happens with Clemson in the rankings. Clemson and Ole Miss, 2 of the most interesting playoff ranking teams I'm intrigued to see come Tuesday. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.